Good morning. Soon it'll be afternoon. I would like to thank the Labor Council for the opportunity for me to introduce myself. I am Mary Popovich, and I'm running for the 58th District State House Representative that Ted Harhide retired from. I do want to make a correction, though, because there is another union member running, and that would be me. I am an ABSCO union employee. As I stand before you trying to convince you I'm a worthy Democratic candidate, it brings me back to a time when I was doing the very same thing in a different setting. I have been a lifelong resident of West Newton. My father was a steel worker. Unfortunately, he was killed in a motorcycle crash when I was 12 years old. My mother was left with 5 children, but somehow we survived. That's what made me so strong, because I was one of the eldest children, so I looked over everyone else. I had only a high school diploma, and I worked every job known to man. I was working 3 jobs to try to raise my son. I would waitress, and then I would bartend, and then on weekends I was an ice skating guard. So that was the majority of my life, until a miracle happened in the 1970s. That's when the Equal Opportunity Act opened doors up for women to be in non-traditional jobs. So you'll never believe where I ended up. And I used to be afraid of the dark, and I ended up in a coal mine. Now, my first couple jobs weren't so bad. Because of my paramedic experience, I worked in safety. I learned everything about safety. I went with inspectors, and I also spent time at the face, and I documented all my time and was able to get my miner's papers. Although at that time I was not a United Mine Worker, I didn't have the opportunity. I was an exempt employee, a non-exempt employee. However, when the mines closed down, which I got in on the tail end of the boom, I ended up in a non-union mine. And I thought, wow, this is great, I'm making great money. I had no idea what I was in for. So let me just take you back to what I experienced. I was shoveling on a belt on an overcast, and those that are coal miners know what I'm talking about. The ceiling was not as high as this one is. They gave me a paddy shovel, which was about this big. Water, too much water on the belt is throwing all this muck on the bottom. The roof was bad, and I'm trying to clean up around this belt, and no one checked on me all night. Unfortunately, a piece of rock moved. I stepped back and lost my footing, and my shovel came in contact with the belt that was moving very fast, so it created a torsion injury. I lost all the feeling from my neck to my toes. I finally found my boss. I went out. I got a release to come back in a couple weeks light duty, and it was not honored. They put me back on shoveling, and I shoveled the mother belt, which is even a harder job. They gave me jobs with a bit bucket that was this tall and asked me to bucket the sump out, which took me 8 hours because you couldn't get any liquid in there, and walk it over to the belt. So if you think I'm afraid of hard work, I'm not, because I survived all that. I had an injury working in the coal mine because they put me in dangerous places, and I knew better. I was in safety, but I had no one to stand up for me. And I remembered this when I got out of that coal mine, and I went back to work. I went through my bachelor's program at California University, followed immediately by my master's program. And I have been a strong advocate for education ever since. For my dedication to the ABSCO Union, I was voted to be a delegate not only at our local level for temporary faculty, but also for the state level. And I have fought for them ever since. Unfortunately, time does catch up with you. And from this serious injury I had when I was 20, and now I'll tell you my age, I'm 62, I recently had serious back surgery. It was in 2014. And I thought that was it. I was done. But you know what? It's unlike black mold. If you leave a little speck, it comes back with a vengeance. It took me 2 years, and with the help of my husband, who retired from CSX, after 41 years of service, a Vietnam vet helping me. I am back and I am strong and I am ready to work for you as a union rep. I have experience. I have worked as a council person for 3 years. I've served as mayor for 6 years. I'm aware of the issues. I am an advocate for Narcan to be out on the streets. I worked with my chief of police to get the units, and we're still waiting. I can't believe it, but it's been a year. We're still waiting to get our units. There are so many issues out there, but I'm for the working family because I lived it. I can remember looking for change in my purse to survive, to wonder where my next meal was coming from. So I don't need to really read the scripted speech. I wrote it because sometimes it still makes me cry, what I went through and what I've overcome. But I'm strong and I'm here, and I hope you will vote for me to be your next 58th District State House Representative.